Well, hey everybody, it's Sandy and welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. So I've got a product review today, guys. I've got the Germless Products N235, what they call a respirator, but I'm going to get into that in my review. I'm going to call it a mask. There's a spoiler alert. Now, this mask was a request from one of my viewers, and as usual, I just want to say thank you for all the suggestions. I do look at every single one of them. I have to pick and choose which ones I'm going to buy to review, but I thought this one looked like a really interesting mask. So thank you so much, and just please keep the suggestions coming. Yeah, so the Germless Products N235 Mask. Now, I thought this was a really interesting suggestion because when I looked at this product, I hadn't seen anything else like it. It boasts that it is made out of purely polypropylene. So it is several layers of polypropylene, non-woven, and actually a very dense polypropylene. So reading on their website, they say the polypropylene ranges from 65 to 170 grams per square meter, although in the individual package insert, this one says 235 grams per square meter. I wish they'd reconcile that on the website, but I kind of think that that is correct because the mask is named the N235, so it doesn't sound like a coincidence. Now, to give that some perspective, a surgical mask is somewhere around 25 grams per square meter, maybe up to 35. So this is a pretty dense polypropylene. I put a video up a while back about the criteria I look for in a plain old fabric or filter mask. And this one doesn't quite satisfy all those criteria. Now, since polypropylene is in and of itself water resistant, the mask does satisfy the criteria for being water resistant. It does have the layer of polypropylene that I like. So the criteria that wasn't satisfied, however, was a moisture wicking inside. Since this is the same all throughout, the inside is not moisture wicking. Now, I thought that was reasonable to go ahead and review this mask anyway, the moisture wicking feature being largely a comfort measure. So when I looked at the website, they had all different masks. Now, I ended up choosing the N235 because I thought it would be the one that would speak mostly to most of my viewers. So the N235 comes in a child size, which they say is for ages 5 through 10. That is $14.99. This is the medium size, which they say is just for most people, and that retails for $17.49. And then they do make an extra large, and that one they say is for people who are over 6'4" and I believe something like 225 pounds. So that actually might be a good option for some of my viewers who have said that they are looking for masks with more generous sizing. So of course I got the medium. I will say that the sizing chart that they have on their webpage maybe could use a little bit of redesign. It's designed in such a way that it gives you the dimensions of the mask. So that was the same indictment that I offered up with Sanovia's size chart a while back. So a more traditional approach to size charting with, say, apparel, for example, would be telling somebody where to measure on the body, and then that would translate into a size. So for example, measure from your nose to your ear, and if it's this many inches or centimeters, then you buy this size. I don't think it really helps that much when they give you the dimensions of the product because you don't really have a sense for how the product is going to conform to your face. That said, they had such a wide range of who the medium fits. It was anybody from a 10-year-old up to somebody who was 6'4", 225 pounds. I was pretty confident that I would take the medium. So this one is marketed as sort of their best mask, all around excellent performance, their highest filtration that they offer, and so much so that they call it a respirator. So guys, I can honestly say that right out of the box, and even looking at it on the website, I didn't think that I would view this as a respirator, and there's the spoiler alert, I won't. First of all, it depends which standards you're looking at, but in the United States, the standard for a respirator is that it has head straps. This mask has only ear loops. Now, I did show a hack a while back where you can make ear loops behave more like a head strap if you put an elastic band that connects the two behind your head, but nonetheless, this is built with ear loops. It's not built with head straps. So I have to say that I take issue with Germless Products calling this a respirator. If it hadn't been for the fact that they called it one, I could evaluate it as a mask and see how does it stack up against other masks. But when you call it a respirator, then it really should be performing like a respirator. So I'm going to get into that in just a minute. Now it's built with, besides the ear loops, it has these what they call compressible foam. I'll try to give you a picture of that. And that's supposed to help you make a seal around the face. So I kind of expected this to be more like a memory foam where when you press it down, it sort of sticks for a second and sort of will compress to the contours of the face, but it's not. This is actually just plain old foam. So it's very lightweight and it bounces back. And that's going to become important in just a minute when I show you. I'm going to put this on. Now I did do, just to be thorough, I did do my water test. Of course, it is water resistant. That's polypropylene. You can see how that beads right up. It does the same thing on the inside. You can see it beading up. So as far as the filtration, they didn't have any testing on the product, or at least they didn't answer me when I asked. Now, normally I don't look for any particular testing on these fabric masks, these masks that fall into the category on what I call my mask continuum of fabric or filtration. I'm just looking for a water resistant outside, ideally a moisture wicking inside, and then at least a layer of polypropylene. So I didn't want to hold this mask to any different standard than the others in its category, but that's where this issue comes in about the fact that we're calling it a respirator. And they're talking about a seal. They're using this foam and telling me that I can get a seal around my face with this mask. And if we're going to assume that we have a seal, then I kind of wish that they would speak to the filtration or offer some testing, because they're marketing this as appropriate for healthcare professionals, first responders, and they are saying that it acts similarly to an N95. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on for you. Now, it comes in this cellophane packet, and it comes with a little package insert. On one side, it just tells you about the specific product that you bought, and that's where it tells me that it's the 235 gram per square meter polypropylene, which I think is pretty impressive. It also says compressible foam. Again, I didn't find the foam really compressible. I just found it to be just a very lightweight foam. And it also tells me that it has galvanized steel both at the top and at the bottom. And that's supposed to help you mold on your face. Now on the other side of the card, it gives you some instruction about how to put this mask on and get a seal. So it tells you to, first of all, press the N235 against your nose, put on both ear loops, apply pressure against the chin, creating a seal, and use your hands to mold to your face. So then I should have a seal. So let's see. So I've got the galvanized steel. I'm going to mold that to the nose. And I'm starting pretty high up because it is kind of a big mask, so I'm starting high up. Now it does have a nice long piece, so it's sort of similar to the Synovia. You can actually hold it once you have it molded to your nose, and you can kind of get a little bit of a molding to your cheekbone. Now it slants down a bit. You can't do it quite as well as with the Synovia that I showed. I'm going to put the ear loop on. Now the ear loops don't have any adjusters. They're mildly elastic, okay? So you can see how loosely they hang. They hang. I'm not even stretching it. It goes to about here. When I stretch it, it comes back here. So I do wish these had some adjusters, because that is a little bit loose for me. I can pull it this much slack on it to try to get a better seal. So nonetheless, plug the nose, put it around the ears, and then that they said mold it under the chin. So you can see it is designed to fit all the way underneath on the underside of the chin. But there's no seal, guys, because when I do that, I've got about a whole finger breadth of slack right here. I've got a huge gap. And the thing with this mask, let's see if I'm going to do exactly what they said and just hold it and mold it to my face. So the thing with this mask is that it's just rigid enough that really, if you go to seal a gap, like for example, it's a little loose down here, and if I want to tighten that up, it's going to bring the top up higher. I don't know if you could see that, but it's just rigid enough that you can't really get it to conform. Now, how would I evaluate it if this were just any other fabric face mask that I were to put on my face? Well, first of all, I would think that this much and this dense of polypropylene might be actually shunting a lot of the air around the mask. So I've talked about that in a previous video about masks and filters and the trade-off. Nobody knows where the sweet spot is, but when you have a very ambitious filter or something that's extremely dense and not so breathable, you're actually going to be shunting more of the air around the mask rather than through it, because the air is going to take the path of least resistance. Now, this wouldn't concern me if this were actually sealed down the way it's supposed to be. I think if you're going to use this dense a fabric as a face mask, then it's going to be very important that it can seal like it's supposed to, so that you don't have any leak and you actually force the air to go through the mask. So I've indicted this on some other masks before. I have some real concerns about that. I can tell you there's a lot of leak in this mask. If I take a big deep breath and blow it out, it's blowing all along the periphery of my face. I don't think that they're trying to market this as something that they don't believe it is. I think that this was a good idea. I think that if you happen to be one of the people where your face is shaped just such that this is going to fit you perfectly, you might get something that approximates more of a seal. I would be surprised if you can get a complete seal with ear loops. But again, my biggest indictment with this product is that we're calling it a respirator, and that's a very high standard. You can't hold a respirator to the same standard as a mask. You can't cross-reference actually between a respirator and a mask, but when we call this a respirator, it means that it really has to seal, it has to pass a seal test, which this would not pass. If we were to instead call this a plain old mask, how do I feel about it? I think it would be more comfortable for a wearer if it had a moisture wicking inside. I don't think this mask is something for the claustrophobic. Obviously, it's trying to approximate a seal, but even if it's not, you do get a little moisture buildup with the plain polypropylene both inside and out. That's a water-resistant interior, so as you wear this for a while and you exhale, you get a little bit of moisture buildup. I wouldn't call it excessive, but I think that's probably partly a function of the fact that it's leaking on me. So yeah, I guess this was really a no-go for me. This was a miss. I do think that it's a good idea. I just think that if you're going to elevate this to the status of a respirator, it really needs to be tested, guys, because I'm quite sure that without a perfect fit, a great deal of the air that's being inhaled and exhaled is being shunted around this mask, because this several layers of dense polypropylene is just not the path of least resistance. So yeah, well, let me know if any one of you guys tried it and if somebody had a different experience. I just do want to say thank you again, though. I really appreciate all these suggestions. Like I said, I look into every single one of them and I really enjoy doing these reviews. So I've got a couple more coming up, and one even in the fabric category. And I've said I'm sorely lacking for masks in the fabric end of the continuum. So please keep the requests coming and let me know if this one was helpful. And until next time, be well. Bye-bye.